Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon or good evening depending on where you are right now. This is going to be our first live marketing session ahead of Digital Transformation World 2019. My name is Tanya. I believe that most of you know me. I'm the Catalyst Program Manager here at TM Forum, and today we'll be covering around 20 to 25 minutes regarding a few of the items regarding the marketing of your Catalyst. And I just wanted to start with a few housekeeping items before we dive in. So as with all of our sessions, this session is being pre-recorded. It will be made available live in the next 2 days, alongside with the slides that we've covered today. So if you want to revisit or maybe reshare this session with any of your team, these will be available to you and your team as a resource. Now, everyone will be on muted for the duration of this webinar. This just allows us to go through all of the content that we have within the times that we need to cover it with. But if you do have a question, there is 2 ways that you can do that. As we're going through a particular slide, you can type your particular question and I can attend to it at the end of the webinar. We will have some time for questions and answers. Or preferably, you can also, at the end, there will be an option. You'll see there's a little hand icon on your GoToWebinar console. You'll actually be able to click that particular button and I'll be able to unmute you towards the end of the session. So for today, we're going to go through an overview and how you can get started as a marketing lead. Now, we already covered a few of these topics last Monday, as there was a few overlapping items between the project leader of the project and yourselves as the marketing lead, and it was just a good time to bring everyone together. But we'll just revisit to kickstart what we will be covering today. Then we will go a little bit more in depth into the Catalyst web pages, social media, the marketing toolkit that you have available, how you can get your own Catalyst marketing plan going, and we'll go a little bit more in depth building from Monday's session on the Catalyst Theatre. And as always, we'll always remind you of the registration and travel quick links and points of contact if you shall need those. So as we covered, if you attended Action Week, or perhaps if you attended Monday's session, this is the Catalyst marketing plan that we have available for you for this cycle. So you'll have your Catalyst exposure. On the web pages, we'll create you an article that will be filming in Nice. Now, for those of you that might come maybe from the marketing side of the Catalyst, the business scenario model, it's a toolkit that we make available to the Catalysts called CurateFX. And some teams find it really valuable to use. Some other teams sometimes don't find it as valuable to use, but it is a toolkit available for the projects. If the teams do wish to use it, it usually gives a good visual of the model of the Catalyst, and we can usually use these for marketing purposes if the team is happy for us to use this content. We also will produce at the end of the show a Catalyst digital brochure. Now, we only create these for Nice, as we have many projects, and after the show, we will include all of your videos, all of your descriptions, perhaps if you have a few articles, and it's a really good tool to continue to promote your Catalyst even after the show. So do make sure that you use it. We'll give further details after the show on how you can share this particular tool. And for the case study, maybe your particular project, you are on a phase 3. Maybe the project is naturally concluded and come to the end of its objectives. Or it could be that perhaps even though you've done a few phases, one of your champions or someone is already taking the project into commercialization within their own organization, or perhaps you created a new revolutionary standard for the industry. If you do have any of those stories, do contact us after the event and we can work with our informed news channels and editors to create you a case study to showcase the good work that the Catalyst has done. So this is just a very quick link on how to get started. So the forum actually creates a few pieces of collateral for you to use. So for example, if you're at Action Week, the Catalyst Action Week video, your individual pages. So you've actually already provided us content for videos, for content. It could be that perhaps you want to do your own white paper. We also help you do that. We have an editor that will help you do your blogs, as I mentioned. And then once you give us all of that information, we are able to then promote it on our various channels. You also I'll have a corporate template available to you, and I'll go through I'll walk you through where you'll be able to find that marketing toolkit a little bit further down on this presentation today. So these are the Catalyst web pages. I know that most of you would have been reached out by my colleague Tandy, who would have gathered some content from the team. And right now, our marketing team is actually working on getting all of the 33 Catalyst projects that we will have at Nice up and running on the webpage. So you will need to give them a few more days for them to be able to upload all of this content. So I've taken actually some screenshots from last year so that you can see how these two pages will look. Now, the forum has actually two ways to promote your particular Catalyst. So you have tmforum.org, where we announce to our members all of the good work that the Catalysts are doing, and that will reach out a set of audience that the forum has. But additionally, you are presenting at one of our events, actually, in fact, our flagship event, Digital Transformation World 2019. So we also have a dedicated website that also reaches sometimes even a different audience. So we do promote your Catalysts via these two different platforms. We do display the content also slightly different, and that's just because we know that the different audiences consume information in a different way, but you are getting further exposure by reaching both of our audiences. Now, we will send you these slides in the next 48 hours, as I mentioned, and you'll be able to go and click on all of these quick links or share them with your team if they're asking you where they can find the information that where we are promoting their Catalyst at. So actually going back, so on the tmforum.org page, which is the one that you're seeing here on the left, first when you actually go to the Catalyst section of our website, you will see the Meet the Catalyst area. And we actually will give a quick link to all of the projects that we have running at this point. And then if you actually click both there and also on the event website, it will actually take you to your individual Catalyst page. So each project, you always will have your individual page created. We'll have any videos, your descriptions, logos of the champions and the participants to give you exposure. And any videos that we create or they are suitable, that the team has created, that you would like to include, they are suitable by our guidelines, or any articles that we or perhaps any of the organizations working on your Catalyst have created, we can actually upload all of them here. So it's a one point where all of your team can put any marketing material that you can just pick up this particular page URL and share it, and anyone that's interested in your project will be able to find all of the other pieces of collateral attached to your project. So let's say if your team is much more focused on the technical delivery, perhaps it might be that marketing might not be really at the forefront of what your project leader is pushing through. If that's the case, then my suggestion would be, we do create you these videos, we do create you these Catalyst web pages. You can just pick up their particular URLs and just share them on social media, and just that can be really impactful. If you get each of your organizations even just doing that, you're actually reaching to 4, 5, or even 6 different sets of audience, depending on how many organizations you have included on your Catalyst. And especially having your particular champion pushing through any sort of a marketing communication, in fact, not just even social media, that will be greatly impactful to all of those participating on the Catalyst. So if you are the marketing lead, do maybe think of ideas of how you can engage your champion, or maybe ask to speak to their marketing team and what is available that they can do for you and your Catalyst. Now, if you do share anything over social media, this is actually the placeholder that will come up. And make sure that, as I say, share it so that it reaches the maximum amount of people, especially remind people that you will be at the show so they can come and see you at the show, or your catalyst, that is. And also, one of the things I really suggest is, if you are promoting your catalyst and let's say your organization A, don't just say that you're working with champion A and that you are company A, because that makes it look like it's just you or your organization and that particular champion. And this is something that's quite important for you as a marketing lead to also communicate to the organizations participating on your project. When they're sharing any information, this is a collaborative project. Everyone involved needs to be named. So it's okay if you just maybe mention that it's just the champion or the champions involved, but at any point there, any of the companies that are participating get mentioned, you actually do need to give a full shout out to all of the companies involved. And that's just because catalysts are a collaborative program. It's what the TM Forum tries to achieve by those. So we really ask our users of our program to really continue that ethos. So now moving on to that Marketing Catalyst Toolkit. So we upload a few templates that might be really helpful for the team to use. Some are optional, some are mandatory. Now, the mandatory ones are things such as the presentation template. So no organization, it doesn't matter if maybe your project leader wants their organization, if the champion wants to have their branded template of their organization, anything that's Catalyst related needs to be on our event template presentations. And that's for a few reasons. First of all is, again, to maintain that neutrality of this is a Catalyst collaborative project, but also it's in line with our event itself. Anyone that comes to do a presentation at our show has to abide by these rules too, and they have to use our templates. So we just want to make sure that everyone is on the same kind of branding story. There's other things such as, for example, an email signature strip for you to use if you'd like to. We do have branded templates if you wish to do maybe a white paper or a Catalyst brochure ahead of the show, and if perhaps you want to include those on your virtual show bag, which I'll go into more detail a bit later on. And then you will also have your Catalyst flyer branded template. That's also mandatory. Now, how you can access those is by going to your individual Catalyst homepage. So if for every reason as a marketing lead you haven't requested access to your homepage, or if those that will be working with you on delivering these materials, it will be difficult. We won't send you those by email. You do need to make sure that you have access to Confluence, as we do utilize Confluence as a point of uploading and downloading documents within the team. Now, if you arrived at your Confluence space and you're not seeing basically what you're seeing here on this screenshot, where the toolkit is available on the bottom right-hand corner, that could be that this member list, you might have many members, or you might have many organizations, or actually you just might have a lot of manpower within that particular team. So just make sure that you're scrolling the page down and you will eventually get to the toolkit. So some teams, as I said, they are quite relaxed about the marketing plan and what the activities that they would like to do between now and the event. When you do go to your Confluence space, you do have that project plan that mentioned on Monday's call, and you can actually go and see between now and the end of your Catalyst cycle exactly what tasks are relevant to the marketing lead. But additionally, there are also other things that you as the marketing lead can do to further enhance the marketing exposure of your project. Now, I know that you all already have spoken to Tandy, and most of the teams have now provided us with a marketing lead. If you're actually the project leader and you've joined us today, it's absolutely fine if you want to take that role too, but we do tend to find that between now and the show, the project leaders do have a lot of tasks that the forum requires feedback on, and at times also coordinating the marketing activities can just be too much of a wider role for one person. So if you have anyone in your team or maybe your organization that actually has a marketing relevance, it could be really helpful to bring them on board. It will help you with your language and user story at the event, and really enhance your event experience and how you're interacting with the attendees, and plus perhaps also enhancing promoting your Catalyst so that more people come to visit you at the event. The one thing that we also suggest is that, yes, you can have the marketing lead just completing the items that TM From asked them to, and just that in itself, you'll have a lot of collateral provided for you. But you can also enhance that. You can perhaps contact each of the organizations involved to also suggest or bring a marketing lead from their table, from their teams, if you really want to coordinate the amazing work that you're doing with how you're pushing that information out. And I think, as I said before, instead of just reaching one audience, you potentially have the reach out of audiences of 7 to 8 or at times even 10 different organizations. And especially when he's that champion, as I mentioned before, that can really just reach a much wider audience that just one organization by themselves can't do. But it will require you as the marketing leader to really work with your team to see if you can achieve that. Now, as I said before, we already covered today, these are the resources that we provide. So you do have that marketing video, you do have those individual TM Forum pages, you'll have a video post show, and you'll have that blog. So it could be that you just gather all of these folk and you just say, look, we actually have already these ready resources. Can you promote anything based around those? Or you can go a little bit extra, and actually, if people have the availability, if you're seeing that people in your team really want to make marketing a big part of your catalyst, then you can actually perhaps organize with other organizations within the team. Maybe you can do a coordinated press release, or maybe the different organizations can stagger different press releases ahead or after the show. Maybe also coordinating the social media activities so that each organization is promoting, but perhaps they each have a take on the catalyst, thus enhancing that marketing story that you can provide. Some companies also sometimes have, especially if any of the organizations that you have on your team, if you spot that they may be sponsoring the event or they may be also exhibiting at the event, sometimes they have website landing pages where they're promoting that they will be at our event. And also that's a great place for them to actually add that they will also have this catalyst and add any information or quick links related to the catalyst itself. Another thing that's very impactful, we do create your catalyst article, but let's say if you have any thought leaders with any of the organizations participating, it could be that they can maybe write a LinkedIn blog. Sometimes organizations also have their own blog or marketing communication interactive areas, so if any of those can happen as well, if you can organize anyone to push those through, we can not only push also through our social media, but we can also connect it to our webpage, as I mentioned before. And again, remember, there's 2 really main key points that you should be promoting. One of them is really that you will be at the event, i.e. the catalyst, you will be at the event, and to promote and market the catalyst so that people come and meet you face to face. But also the great work, so even maybe after show, you can maybe do social a marketing plan surrounding, you just achieved the show, you just completed this amazing catalyst proof of concept and what the results were, and kind of have then a second campaign as well if you do have the bandwidth to do those. Now, I've mentioned that Catalyst virtual show back, and this will actually be something that I'll be going into more detail on the following marketing webinar in 2 weeks' time. So you will see that there's actually already a space created on your conference space for the team to upload these. Now, this doesn't need to be uploaded until much later on at the event, nearer to the event. But I know that there's been a few questions creeping up. So just to let you know, the reason that we have a virtual show bag is that we don't allow any individual companies to have collateral on their Catalyst spaces. Last year, we had over 120 companies participating in Nice alone, just in the Catalyst program. And I believe that actually this year, the number is much higher. So it just really bombards attendees with a lot of paperwork that will just get thrown in the bin, especially nowadays. Everything has become much more digital. So what we create is we create a page where each of the companies can add one piece of collateral. So let's say a fact sheet about their company or so forth. And then the Catalyst can also upload joint information about the Catalyst itself. And we send this virtual show back to the attendee that's visited your Catalyst about 2 to 3 days after the show, and also it enhances that kind of contact that you had with that particular attendee. You know, they visited the show, they've now gone away, and now they actually get hit with these show back saying, thank you so much for visiting us. Here's actually information that you can digest at your own time. And then this is something, it's up to the teams to create. I really suggest for you guys to do it, especially to add it to that virtual show bag. And we do have the template already in your Confluence space. And I've actually put a snapshot of an old, a very old Catalyst, but they've done something really simple, but it just really worked. So if you are strapped for time, then you know, feel free to maybe follow the suggestions that we make here. Let's say if you actually have time and you want to make a much more impactful flyer, then do feel free to do that. There's just a few things that we do ask you to include. Make sure you're including your Catalyst name, project overview. So for example, you can actually use the overviews that have already been accepted by all of those in your project. So either the 50 or the 250 word description. Now, maybe check with your team, what are the benefits? What has the team achieved? And this is something that we don't have, you haven't gathered that information yet from the project, because most of the technical team is actually still working through completing the Catalyst itself. If there's any alignment with our TM Forum assets, then great, add that too, and just make sure that you're including all of the project team. Now, something that I actually haven't included here, but I saw it happening last year, and it was really, really good on the Catalyst flyer. One of the teams actually added for each of the champions in each of the participants, there was actually a direct contact. So they did all of the Catalyst flyer, but at the bottom they said, so if you want to speak to TM Forum from this Catalyst, this is the person we contact. Or if you want to speak to the project leader regarding the whole of the Catalyst, this is the person that you need to contact. It was just a very quick contact list that it just enabled anyone that's spoken to you at the show that might not have gotten your particular contact details. You just gave them a way to actually contact you directly after the show if they want to. Now, there's a few things that we suggest you to do. So you do need to use our TM Forum a template with our event logo and in our branded letterhead. Now, if you wish to move that logo around, that's absolutely fine. We just ask that the digital transformation and the TM Forum logo do need to stay within that size at some part of the document. You do need to add all of your team members. So we do really suggest to add their logos. So you would need to reach out to each of the organizations to obtain that within your team. And there's just one quick rule that we mention. You either write all the organizations or utilize logos, but don't do a mixture of between one and the other. So the team does need to decide. You either gather logos for everyone and you expose it that way, or you just write all of those that are involved by text. And we also say don't really create anything that's longer than 2 pages content. There are templates there for a white paper. There are templates there for other types of information sharing. This is really meant to be a quick flyer for someone that just receives your show back, that just really wants to have a quick look of what was the Catalyst. So we already went through a little bit of the Catalyst theatre. Now, if you have been to the show before, the theatre still remains on the floor 3 of the show, floor 3 of the building in the Acropolis, but we actually have moved it into the show floor, making it a little bit more dynamic and meaning that you'll have more people coming to see your Catalyst. The timing continues 20 minutes to showcase your project, so that hasn't changed. Now, if you're new, these actually will be absolutely fine, but perhaps if you have been with Catalyst before, or your team has participated, it might be that you are a new marketing lead, but your team has actually done a Catalyst before, these will actually be new to them. And one of the things that I do mention is that I'm giving you as the marketing lead all of this information, but as part of your marketing lead role, it does require you for during your coordination calls for you to be expediting the information that you feel that you need back from your team. So this is one of the things I would really suggest. It's really important to run over, especially with not only the team, but also who the team decides that their speakers will be for these particular items. So before we used to have the classic presentation, and then we do have another 3 types of showcasing the information for your catalyst. So you can have a fireside chat with the catalyst team, a panel discussion, an interactive audience Q&A, or you can also choose your own format. Since it doesn't exist 20 minutes, and since that TM from team can facilitate it for you. Now, my colleague Tandy will be reaching out over the next few days to ask you and your project leader which type of presentation type or format you would like to go with. For example, if you're doing a panel discussion and you require a TM from MC to help you with this particular format, we will need to have maybe set up a quick call with the team. But we will need to find, at least before the end of next week, which type of presentation the team would like. Now, we will also cover on the next session, we'll go a little bit more in depth about the Catalyst Theatre, but I know that some of you will start thinking about this particular format, how it will work. So there's just already a few tips that I would like to share with you. The slot is a maximum of 20 minutes. We will have another team ready to follow up with their Catalyst presentation. If you are overrunning, we will cut you off early because it's very important that we get the next team on time. Plan according to your chosen format. Not only our MC, but our video team and our theatre team will be expecting you to deliver the format that you've accepted with us. So going off plan might actually mean that our team is not prepared to help you on site. Now, you will always tend to overrun. It's just something to do with presentation. So always plan that you might overrun. So always make that content slightly shorter, and even to allow maybe a question from the audience that you might not have thought. You know, we do all have been there where someone in the audience, especially in a theatre that doesn't have more than 50 people, that someone will just cut your presentation, or that perhaps they at the end they will make that question. So just make sure that you're allowing for all of these other happenings to perhaps happen during your presentation. Your slide deck must be engaging. Do remind yourselves that anything over 5 lines on a slide deck, the person will either be paying attention to reading the slide, or they will be paying attention to your speaker. And this is something when you are going through with your speakers and preparing them, it's really important that you do go through them. And make sure that the person that's speaking and the person that's maybe developed that particular slide deck, that they are talking to each other, or at least that they all have the same information that I'm sharing with you today. Diagrams and imagery are great to really help the content that you're delivering to the audience, and especially with some catalysts, when it does get technical, this kind of imagery can really support in explaining a particular idea or how you've achieved something in a much easier way. Now, do bear in mind, if you do decide to do any sort of live demo at the theatre, you will be using the Wi-Fi available to general attendees. So this could be a little bit unreliable if you perhaps connecting, or if the speaker is connecting to a platform, an external platform that needs quite a lot of bandwidth. My suggestion, if you do want to do that, we don't really suggest for the team to really give a live demo, because that's the point of being at your Catalyst kiosk. And as I said in the morning session, the objective of the theatre is not for the team to get up on stage and really show, this is what we've done and look how great it is. Yes, part of it is, but part of it is to get Catalyst Theatre to engage the audience so that they come back to your Catalyst kiosk to really have that one-to-one conversation. So you don't want to give them a full live demo. You just want to give enough information that someone goes, this looks really cool and I really want to go back and learn more. If you do decide to do that live demo, I do then suggest to pre-record it maybe and let us know ahead of time so that we can run your particular video, and it doesn't really last more than 1 to 3 minutes, because otherwise people will engage. And in terms of slides, even if you're doing the different types of formats that we have available, do remind that you should be covering one slide per 1 minute. So for example, if you're doing a fireside chat or if you're doing a panel and you actually have some imagery that you would like to have ready, that's absolutely fine. But if you're doing that, if you are doing a classic presentation, or if maybe you're opening for the first 5 minutes with your project overview, first of all, just be reminded, if you have more than one slide per minute that you have to talk, you have too many slides, then you will not be able to cover that content. So now just going a little bit more in depth into the catalyst types. So we do have that classic presentation. It's a maximum of 2 speakers per team. And we'll allow 5 minutes questions and answers at the end. Now, if you do want to do maybe a 10-minute presentation and have questions and answers, that's fine. Just let us know so that we are ready for that. You can also have a fireside chat with your Catalyst team. So this is where you have 3 speakers on stage maximum from your team, and they will come prepared with 4 to 5 questions that they will be asking each other. So for example, the champion might be asking the participant a certain question that covers the content that you would like to showcase during the theatre. Or it could be that the participant asks what was the benefit of the champion being in the Catalyst. And it's that type of format. Now, you can choose 4 to 5 questions covering 3 to 4 minutes maximum each. You can have a panel discussion that will be led by our TM Forum MC, and they can work with you. They can set up a call with you to choose those 4 to 5 questions and the topics that you'd like to cover. And they can then, with a maximum of 3 speakers again from your team, they can direct that panel discussion for you. And this is just a form of maybe the forum or providing you some support. If you do want to have that more fireside chat, but perhaps that dynamic of having people within the team asking questions and answers, the panel discussion, if it's led by the MC, the TM Forum MC, might take some of the edge from your speakers on that, if you would prefer to take this particular type of catalyst presentation. Now, you can also have an interactive audience Q&A. So these will be a maximum of 2 speakers. You will need to come prepared to 4 to 5 questions too, just in case if the audience is there, but they're perhaps not being very forward with questions. But these will be open to the audience to ask any questions that they feel. Do be aware that these 4, it's great if the audience is being engaged, is a really great format, but is much more trickier to deliver. And I would really only suggest for the team to choose these type of presentation type if you have very, very good speakers that have really done this for a long time. You can also suggest your own type of format if you'd like. It can't exceed 20 minutes, as I've said before. Now, the one thing that will be common to all of these particular catalyst types is that for any single project that you come on stage to deliver, everyone does need to introduce the project for the first few minutes for a maximum of 5. So the team just needs to get up on stage just saying who they are, what was the project about, and just a quick lines about what you were trying to achieve, just to set the scene so that the audience knows what it is that your catalyst was trying to achieve during the catalyst cycle. And also be reminded, we will be recording your catalyst video, your first catalyst video during your theatre, and they will definitely record those first 5 minutes, and they might also add a bit of editing work from the rest of the presentation. Now, we will go through on the next session about the videos. I think that you already have quite a lot to work with what I've given you today, but I will leave these slides so that you're just aware if anyone in your team is being a little bit more proactive. And again, I mentioned about the event presentations. This is just a reminder that these will be to come and that this is something that the team needs to provide to us. But again, your catalyst is still working on that solution. So whilst it's good for you guys to start thinking about it, you won't really have all of your content to really finish to complete any of these. And with that, we've reached the very end of the session. I do know that I had a few questions coming through, but if you did thought of any questions, or perhaps if you'd like me to open your line to make me a question directly, don't be shy. Maybe your question might be someone else's question, especially if you're brand new to the Catalyst program. Both myself and Catalyst veterans, as I call them, we're so used at our Catalyst language that to anyone that's new, it might be that something wasn't clear. So do make sure that you're asking us so that we can provide you the best support. So whilst I let any questions come through, just a few items. Here are the registration and travel quick links. So if you want to book accommodation or travel, or if you'd like to share these slides with your team, we do have a 20% discount for Catalysts, only for gold passes, and that's the Catalyst 20M. Remind your team to be at the action day on Friday. There's no extra passes for these, but it's really good for the team to get together and do a download. And if you're already returned as a contract and you haven't received your complimentary passes to complimentary codes to register, feel free to contact our expert at tmforum.org. So I do see that there's a few questions here, so let me just go through them. Okay, someone is asking access to Confluence. So Ashley, you will need to request actually for any access to Confluence, your team has a link for you to request access to. Because catalysts are bound by IPR mode RAND, anyone that's needs to be part of that Confluence space where information is shared, they actually need to click that they accept working under these IPR mode RAND. It's just a formality of our bylaws. So if you don't have the link to actually request that access, I can send it to you, but usually your project leaders or your main technical lead will have that for you. So again, for Ashley, if you would like to show a short video as part of an opening to the session, it depends how long and what it is that you're trying to show. If it's anything that's actually just branded by one company, that will be a bit tricky because again, it's a Catalyst group, you know, that it needs to be showcased. But do you send me maybe the details of how long, what are the requirements from our AV team, and we can see if we can organize that for you. And from Paula, yes, we will be sharing these presentation slides. So usually it does take me about 24 to 48 hours for me to be able to put both the recording, we record the session, one of the sessions, and we also put the slides available online. Now, if you do desperately need them straight away, feel free then to email me. But anytime that I do a webinar, within a few days, that information comes online. So for example, if you attended, but actually you'll have someone else or you have the other marketing leads within the team, if you have more than one, you can either share the invitation with them or you can share the presentations slides that I've covered. So great. So I think that was all. I don't see any more questions coming through. I do apologize. I have taken a few more minutes from your time, and I do really appreciate that you have stayed. And we do have one last question. So, Vlami, I'm actually going to unmute you so that you can ask your question. So, hi, I've opened the bridge for you.
Thanks, Tanya. Just a quick question. This is with respect to the Catalyst Theatre presentation which you explained. Is it scheduled time? I mean, like kind of the event is for 3 days, 14, 15, 16, excluding action day. So when and at what time this is supposed to be presented? Is it like a particular day and a particular slot, or how it would be? Just wanted to understand that so that we can plan it accordingly.
Absolutely. So just for all of those that might be asking in terms of the presentation, in terms of maybe the extra video recordings that we'll have for you at the show, you also have judging. So for all of those, you will get dedicated slots that you will need to attend to. The reason that we don't share them with you these earlier on is our team tries to create a story amongst all the catalysts that we receive. Because the teams are still working on their solution, we still need another week or so to really fully understand what the projects are doing to create, you know, a nice story so that when the attendees not only come to your Catalyst area, but when they come, for example, to the Catalyst Theatre, that the presentations and the content are actually flowing from one topic to the other. And that also helps you guys in turn for your presentation of where you are. If there's a topic being covered, for example, in the theatre, if there's a catalyst that is connected, for example, we pick a big broading term, AI. If they're also related to AI, it's most likely that someone that attended a catalyst with an AI topic might stay to see your catalyst if it's also an AI. So due to that, you will get specific times. You will have to confirm them. If you do have any unavailability, we do work around with you and the team, but those won't be provided to you until a little bit later in the month of April.
Okay, thank you. So it will be mostly on 14th or 15th, right? Or it will be chances for the last day or so?
It could
Just
be
for the understanding.
it could be on the last day. So we usually keep the presentations for the theatre. So we don't schedule any until Monday at 11 o'clock. Tuesday at 11 o'clock. And that's because you have the opening keynotes. So you wouldn't have anyone really coming to them. And then we usually stop them at about 2 p.m. on a Thursday. The show floor is still very, very busy on Thursday morning. But, you know, as with all events, after lunchtime, it does get a little bit quieter. So we usually don't schedule any after that time.
Okay.
Perfect. Great.
Okay, thanks, Tanya. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great. So I'm going to give it another minute or two if anyone has any other questions today. And I don't see anything coming through. So again, thank you so much. I've really appreciated you guys having stayed over time for this session. We will share these slides with you. And if you think of any questions after today, do feel free to reach out to me and I'll try to help you as best as I can. Have the rest of a great week. Thank you so much and take care.